President Muhammadu Buhari says he had no hand in the dethronement of Emir of Kano Muhammadu Sanusi II, as the deposed Emir gets a second appointment from the Kaduna state government, and the new Emir in Kano gets staff of office. And with the impact of coronavirus and slumping global price of oil, Nigerian economy sneezes and pressuring government officials to rescue the situation. But how far? Is the Nigerian economy in trouble? Hello everyone and welcome to the program. This is Politics Today live on Channels Television. I'm sure Mailafia, Channels Television's global headquarters in Lagos. Will begin with not so good news this Wednesday, as the World Health Organization has tagged the COVID-19 disease around the world as a pandemic. The World Health Organization said the world has never before seen a pandemic sparked by a coronavirus. At a briefing earlier today, the WHO chief said the spread of the coronavirus is threatening. The spread and the severity, according to the WHO, is deadly. The new coronavirus, which has infected more than 110,000 people and killed more than 4,000, which they say is alarming. Well, today is Wednesday and is the 1 hour stretch of the program. So tonight, we shall be dissecting some issues for you. Is the Nigerian economy in trouble? We'll find out what is the way out. If we are in trouble, how do we get out of here? What exactly is the situation of things? We touch on that. And again, we will look into the situation in Kano State, where the deposed Emir has gotten a second appointment in less than 24 hours from the Kaduna State government. There's been a lot of talk. The president has spoken up and said that I do not have a hand in the dethronement of Emir of Kano, Sanusi, Muhammadu Sanusi II. We find out all of this and get all the angles that you need to know on the program. Just stick with us within the next 1 hour or so. But let's check out some other stories we're following for you on our political roundup.
A federal high court sitting in the nation's capital, Abuja, has adjourned the trial of Revolution Now convener Omoyele Sowore and his co-accused Olawale Bakare to April the 1st and 2nd for continuation of trial. Justice Ijoma Ojukwu adjourned the trial following the objection raised by the counsel to the defendant, Mr. Femi Falana, who challenged the testimony of the first witness for giving evidence outside his written statement. The All Progressives Congress, APC, and the People's Democratic Party in Imo State have continued to trade words over the proposed reception for the return of former Governor Mega Hedion in Owerri, the Imo State capital, tomorrow. Briefing journalists in Owerri, the Imo State capital, the chairman of the All Progressives Congress in Imo State, Marcellus Nlemigbo, says the PDP in the state is still grieving over the outcome of the Supreme Court judgment. He alleged that the PDP is trying all within its powers to cause chaos in the state by hiding under reception for Emeka Hedion tomorrow. Reacting to this, the state secretary of the PDP, Ray Emenia, debunked these allegations, saying the PDP in the state does not have the intention to challenge the state government led by the APC. He says former Governor Mega Hedion is coming back to participate in Saturday's PDP World Congress, and as a leader, he will surely be received by Imo citizens with open arms. The Imo State Governor, Hope Uzodinma, says by plugging the loopholes of corruption in the Imo State Oil-Producing Areas Development Commission, ISOPADEC, his administration has saved about 800 million naira within the last 2 months of his assumption of office as the governor. Governor Uzodinma disclosed this at the palace of the traditional ruler of Maho community in Ohaji Egbema, while meeting with stakeholders in the oil-rich Ohaji Egbema local government area of Imo State. The governor lamented the misappropriation of funds by the elites and the leaders of the area. The Independent National Electoral Commission, INEC, in Kwara State has declared its readiness for Saturday's by-election in Patigi constituency in Kwara North Senatorial District by deploying nothing less than 451 personnel for the election. The resident electoral commissioner of INEC in Kwara State, Mr. Garuba Madami, stated this at the commission's headquarters in Adewale area of Ilorin while addressing journalists. He said the commission have received sensitive and non-sensitive materials for the election.
Thank you so much, everyone. Get a seat because, look, tonight we will look at some very interesting issues. Apart from the politics of Kano State and what has become a major issue is also the fact that the Nigerian economy might be sneezing when coronavirus seems to have plagued the world, and now economies around the world are on their news. For almost over 20 years, the oil price has not slumped this bad. There are growing concerns over the state of Nigerian economy following the spread of the coronavirus disease, which has greatly impacted the price of oil globally. And being Nigeria's economy mainstay, it is biting hard already. Today at a central bank stakeholders event in Abuja, more reality are steering the Nigerian government and the face. Take a listen to some of the soundbite at that event.
These are very, very strong headwinds, and these headwinds reinforce the wake-up call for us as a country to look towards a life without oil, and the time to do that is now. But for all of us in this room, we have a responsibility to make sure that we don't spread panic, that we don't allow speculation, because that is what triggers a spiral which will not be in the favor of our country. We need to all put our hands together to weather this storm. This is not something that government can do alone, nor is this something that the private sector can do alone. It has to be a partnership, a very strong one. We need to work together to take the opportunities that this same crisis has provided for us. For us in government, there are some measures that we need to take, which we have not taken, and this is the right time to take those measures.
What it means for our country, and what it also means to the oil markets, is that the best of the people who will remain are the people who will produce oil at the cheapest cost. And until you do that, the oil markets will run without you, and your economies will go aground. In our situation, we have expectations, we have plans, Honorable Minister is here. The belief is that we can take our production to 3 million barrels per day. It's very possible. Also to shift our reserve from our current status of 36 to 37 to 40 billion barrels in the next 2 to 3 years. It is also possible. Much as these are very high expectations and very possible expectations, but you must produce them today, even at low prices. And the markets operate in such a way that we don't know what tomorrow will bring. The assumptions for this year was $60 crude oil price throughout this year as an average. Now we are facing sub 30 oil, and potentially we haven't seen the bottom. We hope not. We hope we have seen the bottom. But if it is not, it's a huge challenge which the Mr. Governor has highlighted, that it creates a circle of problems for us as a country.
So you might not be one of those who understand the implication of these figures. Let me give you a sense. For example, if Nigeria earns about 60 naira per day, that amount has been cut by half. The benchmark of oil in the Nigerian budget was about $60 per barrel. Things have happened. That has been cut to about $31 to $33 per barrel. In fact, sometimes it's getting lower than that. Is that the deepest that things can be, considering how the price is going down? That is the mainstay of our economy. Is the Nigerian economy in trouble? Let's find out and get a sense of what this means. You've heard from some of the government officials, the NNPC GMD has spoken there, that he hopes that things will not go lower than that. You heard the finance minister that we need to put our thinking cap on and think about how we can get more revenue aside oil. So what is the way out? Let's ask some of those who know. We have on the program tonight, Dr. Obadiah Mailafia, a former deputy governor of the Central Bank of Nigeria, also an economist. He joins us from Jos and Plateau State via Skype. Thank you so much, Dr. Obadiah Mailafia, for joining us tonight. Are we in trouble? How bad is the situation? Can we cope? Can we get out of this conundrum? Can we get some other revenues elsewhere? How fast can this happen? These are so many questions on the minds of Nigerians. Let us begin with perhaps what will give Nigerians a sense of what is happening really. How bad is the trouble we have entered?
First of all, let me just say that we need to be calm. Yes, there is a store, and as the Honorable Minister of Finance, Budget and Planning says, we are facing very strong headwinds at present. What a good pilot needs to do in a storm is to keep calm and to be very focused. That is the only way we can brave the headwinds. Now, the situation is difficult because China is literally closed down. Cities, schools, companies, literally a shutdown. It's working at a very, very small scale of what it is. And as you know, China is the engine and locomotive of world industrial production. And China is also Nigeria's biggest trading and investment partner. Now, the thing is spreading to Europe, other parts of Asia. At the last count, almost 70 countries have been affected. Thousands of people have died. But there is an atmosphere of panic. And of course, in behavioral economics, sometimes it is not really the disease that kills. It is the fear but the disease that kills. And what we're facing today is sentiment, emotion, and panic. And that is equally dangerous in economic terms. So my first counsel is, let's be very calm. Let's put on our thinking hearts. Let's be very focused. Let's hold on very strongly to the steering wheel in order to brave the storms. And the leadership have a duty to give confidence to the people and to let all our nation know that the only thing to fear is fear itself. Now, at the last count, the Naira has been, shaky. And we've lost a lot from the foreign exchange, the stock market. Global stock markets have lost something like 20%, trillions of dollars in their asset values. And there is a flight to safety in such areas as gold and the rest of it. So the situation is very dire. The benchmark was, I think, 57 or was it $60 to a barrel. And you and I know that the thing fell to as low as 33 the other day. And today is about 33.76. That's the crude Bonny Light. Far below what we had set as a benchmark. Obviously, that means that we will have to adjust the budget for this year.
Mailafia, in this adjustment, the reality is now that our earnings, we rely so much on oil. Now, our earnings is probably going to be cut by half. In fact, the NNPC GMD was saying the likes of Saudi Arabia can afford to cut their sale of oil by $5. We cannot afford because we're not refining. In that sense, what are the quick measures that Nigeria can make? Because that will have effect on our economy directly, isn't it?
Well, I think, yes, it will. The thing is that it will affect revenue because 50% at the least of our revenue still come from oil. That is government revenue. When you look at it from the point of view of foreign reserve earnings, still rely for 94% of all our inflows from oil revenue. And that is very tricky. That is likely to affect, the rise in our reserves. And what I would say that, look, first of all, we need to adjust the budget. We need to go to the drawing table and cut out all non-essentials and focus on the core things that we need to do. Second, the excess crude is virtually exhausted. We may need to look into areas where if there are assets that can be sold, some of those agreements with oil companies, if there's some upfront payments that can be made from them, we can tap into that source of extra revenue, to cushion temporary shocks. Now, let me also say this, that there are two broad scenarios. The first scenario is the worst scenario, that this thing becomes a really big global pandemic. And I know the WHO is actually about to declare it to be a pandemic that continues for a year. In the situation of that happening, obviously we have to cut back massively in terms of growth expectations and in terms of growth and economic prosperity generally, not only in Nigeria but in Africa and in the global economy. The other scenario is that this thing could go on for just another 2 months and then it would peter out. I'm not a medical doctor. I've read some of the literature. What is frightening is that this particular virus can grow pretty fast. In the first 1,000 people, took barely just 3 months to affect them. It's about 7 weeks to affect them. But other viruses in the past takes at least 3 months, 4 months to spread to so many people. So it's spreading faster. The good news is that the fatality rate is slower percentage terms than other viruses of the past.
Okay, Doc, because of the time, let us wrap up in this way. How should Nigerians brace up for this? It's a stormy situation that we are in. As the government is brainstorming on getting us out of this trouble and the quagmire, what can an average Nigerians be expecting? What could be the worst case scenario? Just in about a minute.
Well, the worst case scenario is that this thing becomes a pandemic and sends panic throughout the country, and we all bring the country to a standstill, the economy, schools closed down and everything, as is happening in China. But I don't think so. If history is any guide, we survived Ebola. When push comes to shove, Nigerians have an extraordinary capacity for resilience and for making important decisions. We did that in the case of Ebola, and by God's grace, we shall do that in the case of coronavirus. Let me just say, look, kudos to the government, and especially the National Assembly. The president of the National Assembly's team have gone physically to investigate, to check out some of those facilities, ensure that money is being and there's a high level of preparedness. Of that is giving confidence to our people.
All right. So we need to go now, Dr. Mailafia. So in this sense, if there is one thing that we need to look towards, just in the 30 seconds, if you can give us this intervention, aside oil, because it's looking like things are glooming in that regard. So if there's one thing that we can look towards to get us out of this for our economy, what would that be?
To get us out of this economy, really confidence is the most important thing. That we should not panic, because panic can create a dynamic of its own. Let's remain calm, let's remain focused, and let's continue to do the things that we can do, rejig the budget, focus on essentials, and focus on restoring confidence. And for that, leadership is important. Leadership is critical.
All right, Doc. Thank you so much, Dr. Obadiah Mailafia, a presidential candidate at the 2019 election and also a former deputy governor of the Central Bank. Thank you so much for your thoughts tonight. We'll take a break, everyone. But when we come back, our attention shifts to the politics of Kano. Kaduna State government seems to be interested in some part of it. The president, Muhammadu Buhari, says, I do not have a hand in the situation. We'll find out what is the real twist and the intrigue in all of this. Could it be the politics of 2023? I have some guests on the program tonight to analyze that. After this break, everyone. Join us again.